Hey guys, what is up? It is Lisa Blonay and I'm back with another live video. Let's go ahead and get into this breaking news, a news flash having to do with the shooting death. Well, a news flash having to do with so what do you know? We do have some breaking news sometimes. This just in, you guys. If you guys remember the Jacksonville rapper Charles Jones, known as Foolio, who was unalived in June, well, really on his birthday of last year, June of last year. Well, one of the four suspects that are currently behind bars went before a judge for a pre-trial bond hearing. Okay. Her lawyers were asking for house arrest. And did they present enough evidence to change the judge's mind? Let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. Now, if you guys don't know, Alicia Andrews, who is one of the four suspects in the unaliving of the rapper Foolio in 2024, sadly on his birthday, went before a judge today. I don't know if this is a continuation of the pre-bond hearing because the next steps will be jury selection and then they'll go into the trial. So basically, she wanted to be free before they went to trial. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get into the details of this. Let me go ahead and get into this for you. Okay. Now, Alicia Andrews, hold on. Alicia Andrews is on trial for the first degree red rum and conspiracy to commit first degree red rum in connection with the June 2024 shooting unalivement of Jacksonville rapper Charles Jones, known as Foolio. Now, Andrew is accused of being the lookout following Foolio to a hotel after his birthday celebration and providing his location to the Powers in an alleged gang war. Now, her trial was delayed from its initial August 2025 date due to the lead prosecutor's hospitalization, but now is set to begin in October of this year. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get into this short video that's going to catch you guys up to speed. All right. Now, if you guys don't know, the allegation is that Andrews is accused of being the lookout who followed Foolio, gave his location to those who ambushed and pow-powed him. Now, the motive behind this is that the attack is believed to be a result of an ongoing gang war between Foolio's Six Block gang and a rival gang, ATK and 1200, which I believe her boyfriend, who was also involved in this, was, I guess, involved in one of those rival gangs. And we'll clarify that for you guys. All right. Now, as of right now, Andrews is the first suspect to stand trial. Now, they will not be tried together, you guys. I guess they're going to go one by one. But all I know is she's going to be tried first. She will be the first suspect to stand trial. Now, her trial was scheduled, like I said, for August, but it was pushed to October because the prosecutor was sick. Okay. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for her, but now the postponed due to the lead prosecutor having a medical emergency, so it's been pushed to October 20th of this year, you guys, which is not that far away. Now the charges that she faces is first degree red rum and conspiracy to commit first degree red rum. All right. And the judge really reiterated that, her lawyer, before we get into the video, was arguing that her fingerprints weren't found on the GUN, the bullets, or any the casings or anything like that. And he was trying to find a discrepancy in her arriving at the club Teasers okay, where they had followed Foolio. Okay. Of course, he was unsuccessful, but let's get into it so you guys can see exactly what went on. Okay. Let's see. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. Make sure you like the video, follow for more, and make sure you share out this live. We are on the road to 10K, you guys, and I will keep pushing out the videos, bringing you guys the latest, okay? The latest messy on these streets, the latest news stories, and relevant topics, all right? Let's go ahead and get into this. And this information into what's going on. And remember, guys, this was a full-on ambush. Okay, it actually is sad, But when people live that life, you live by the pow pow, you die by the pow pow, and it's kind of the ins and outs of living this lifestyle or choosing to date someone who is involved with this lifestyle. Okay, so let me go ahead and play this for you guys.
Florida prosecutors have now made it official. The death penalty is being considered for the suspects linked to rapper Foolio's murder. And judging by how things are unfolding in court, it's clear the defendants know they're in serious trouble.
No, they got so much evidence against them. Like, when you go through it, you can pretty much just, all right, pick a prison. Where do y'all want to go?
As a result, the suspects seem to be coming to grips with their reality. Some have even begun to show signs of remorse during court proceedings. There's a lot happening with this case right now, so let's dive into the details. Foolio's killer's facing death sentence. The Florida summer heat had barely faded on the night of June 23, 2024, when the sound of gunshots shattered the calm outside a Holiday Inn near the University of South Florida. What started as a birthday celebration spiraled into chaos. Charles Jones, better known to fans as Foolio, had just turned 26. The Jacksonville rapper, notorious for his raw lyrics and deep roots in street life, should have been celebrating another milestone. Instead, he became the target of a deadly, calculated ambush. Foolio was gunned down in a shooting that also left 3 others injured. And from the very start, police knew this wasn't random. This was an
Before Married America, Amy was struggling financially as a single parent. She worked as a truck operator, and like 53 million.
This was an execution, the kind that comes from long-standing street warfare. Foolio was affiliated with the 6 Block Gang, a known rival to 2 of Jacksonville's most violent crews, ATK and 1200. While his music gave him a platform to rise above the conflict, on that June night in Tampa, the streets caught up with him. Within weeks, law enforcement had zeroed in on 5 suspects. Tampa PD, backed by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, moved fast. By the end of July, 3 people were in custody. 18-year-old Sean Gathright, 21-year-old Isaiah Chance, and 21-year-old Alicia Andrews. A 4th suspect, 30-year-old Rashad Murphy, was taken into custody after a tense SWAT standoff in Jacksonville. The final suspect, Davian Murphy, evaded arrest for months and wasn't captured until January 2025, ending a 6-month manhunt. Each was charged with premeditated first-degree murder, and prosecutors added conspiracy to commit murder to emphasize how thoroughly Foolio had been tracked and targeted. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment killing, it was a well-planned operation. By October 2024, the case took a darker turn. The state announced it would pursue the death penalty against Gathright, Chance, and Rashad Murphy. These weren't minor participants. They were identified as the shooters, caught on surveillance video unloading dozens of rounds into the car where Foolio sat, unaware and unprotected. The footage was chilling. 3 masked men, armed with rifles and a handgun, executing a hit with military-like precision. At a press conference, State Attorney Susan Lopez was blunt. If you help orchestrate a murder, you're as guilty as the one who pulls the trigger, and we intend to prove that in court.
Okay, so you heard the information and the details, some of the details about this case. Now, the 4th suspect that was involved in this ambush unaliving of the rapper Foolio, there was a standoff with the fourth suspect. Okay, and he was caught months later. Just to throw that in there. Okay, the Foolio's Red Rum, the people who were involved in this, apologized in court. Okay, now, like the prosecution said, at the end of the day, if you help to orchestrate a red rum, you're as guilty as the one who pulls the trigger. And we intend to prove that in court. And that is why this is so serious for Andrews. Okay. Now, Andrews was previously dealt a setback when the judge, Michelle Cisco, ruled her attorneys would not be allowed to introduce evidence of domestic violence, of DV, at her trial. Now, this is exactly what her lawyers tried to do at the pre-trial bond hearing, was bring in the fact that she was a victim of DV, which it didn't work, okay? And, you know, the judge was really looking for something that was omitted from the first judge who denied bond and you know, arrested them and placed no bond on there, okay? So obviously her defense team, her attorneys could not prove that, and therefore she was denied, okay? Now, under Florida law, defendants charged with premeditated first-degree red rum are not eligible to use duress as a defense. So I don't even know why they introduced that today, but they did. I guess they threw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and nothing stuck, y'all, okay? Now, making an alleged like domestic DV is really irrelevant when it comes to a red rum case. Okay, it really is. It's irrelevant. Let me go ahead and show you a little bit about what happened in court today. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up this video. And you know, when you really think about this, this is sad, you guys, that this even happened, and that I think the oldest person that was involved, the fourth suspect, was 30 years old. Everybody was under 30, okay? And they are facing life in prison. Just think about that. Just ponder on that for a minute. And I think she was 21 at the time. So it's just been a year, right? Just a little over a year. So, you know, for people to throw their lives away like this, and I understand, you know, you're young, you're dumb, but you know, as the decades progress and we go into the 21st century, that is more and more irrelevant. Okay. What we used to be able to stand on before, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, is seeming to not work so much anymore, right? And I think it's the fact that RICO is so prevalent, right? They just throw everybody under the RICO and take all y'all out. When before, and I'm not saying just in the recent past, but you know, before, they used to have to do it individually, right? And at one time, the RICO charge was only used for like mob ties or mob like, crimes. But now that they've brought it to the mainstream, and everyday citizens like you or I, if we are caught up in something like this, if we are the lookout, if we are the powers, if we are the driver, we are just as guilty. We are all thrown under the same bus, okay? Which makes this all the more scary. Because I do remember a time when I used to be like, well, shoot, it ain't me. You know, I'm just dating a guy. Like, I used to think that. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm just driving. I don't know. You cannot use that as a scapegoat anymore, which, you know, just stresses the fact that you need to choose wisely, right? Now, let me go ahead and pull this video of today's proceedings. Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing. I'm just going to skip through it so you guys can kind of get an idea of what went on, because to be honest with you, her attorney was just babbling. He was just babbling. He was saying the same things over and over again. The judge had to stop him, redirect him, admonish him several times, and it just became a big yawn. Okay, it just became a big bore at the end of the day. When your lawyer steps up and starts speaking in circles and repeating itself and clashing with the judge, it is not a good sign. And I'm not being, I don't want to be one sided, but just by seeing and hearing that, I already knew that she was going to deny it because you don't even sound like you know what you're talking about, bro. Okay. Um, Let me see, you guys. Let me pull up some of the proceedings that went on today with Florida, the state of Florida versus Alicia Andrews, okay, and her bond hearing. We're going to go to court TV and see the goings on, okay? See what's popping. Uh-oh. Hold on, guys. Let's see. I think I pulled up the wrong one. Yeah, when you think about it, October is like right around the corner, right? You just have September, and then by mid-October, she will be on trial for her life, and it's not looking too good. It is not looking too good, and this is a wake-up call to women, period. Because I don't know if you guys know, any decade can get it. Any decade woman, okay, whether you're find themselves in a domestic violence situation, okay, it's not just reserved for people 8. You can be caught up in a DV situation at any time, okay? And this wisely, y'all, with all of the who we date, okay? At the bare minimum, you know, at the bare minimum, you should, because when we get with somebody 9 times out of 10, we plan on being with that person, okay? We plan on being with that person. You plan on procreating with this person. You plan on spending your life with this person. You plan on growing with this person. Can we make sure they're not a bunch of imbeciles? Can we make sure that they're not going to get you in some kind of mess that you know what I'm saying, cannot get out of? Because we are looking at 4 lives about to be thrown away. And I'm pretty sure that they had so much potential. On top of the fact that the rapper Foolio is no longer with us, you know, they kind of have an advantage over them because they are still breathing. And people may look at it as, they're going to lose their freedom, but they'll still be able to live, right? They'll still be able to talk with their family and their loved ones. If they have children, they'll still be able to have contact with their children. Whereas Foolio was robbed of all of that. Okay? I mean, it's messed up. And you guys saw the video how they literally like ambushed him. Right? So sad, you guys. It really is. It kind of makes you mad. You know what I'm saying? When you think about it. Hold on. Okay, so let's see what went on in court today. And I'll play a little bit for you guys, okay? It's almost 2 hours, so we're definitely not going to watch the whole 2 hours. I just wanted to really tap in, let you guys know what was going on. And, sometimes I have news flashes, which I'm going to start bringing you guys with more breaking news. And I think it's a good thing. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, remember, this is just one of the 4 suspects and the first suspect that will go to court. All right, so let's get into this.
The punishment should fit the crime. And it is a crying shame that it didn't the first time that Jake Harrow harmed one of his children. Perhaps
defendant.
And I think you did.
Audio as an input modality and output modality.
You did make the point in your reply that Judge Sabella didn't even conduct an Arthur hearing.
He didn't, Judge. We had moved for both of those things and argued for both of those. So the Arthur hearing is moved. It's clear that Judge Sabella decided to hold the defendant, and you can hold the defendant based on either of those requirements. And it was very clear on the record and the findings that Judge Sabella ordered pretrial detention pursuant to the pretrial detention and release statute.
And do you concede, Mr. McLima, that at the original pretrial detention hearing that Judge Sabella did not articulate and did not rule on the Arthur factors?
I would agree with that, Judge. That's
okay. And do you also agree that pursuant to the pretrial detention statute, in order for there to be a modification, once a court has found that it applies, that they have to be facts not known, and the facts would have to be material and have some bearing or relevance to the case? Do you agree to that?
I don't, Judge. So in the state's motion at the bottom of page 3, the state cites to the statute that they're referring to, 907.041 5J. That statute no longer exists. That statute, by research, is from 2023. Statute has since been amended, so that subsection does not exist. The section that reads, a party made motion for pretrial detention order to be reconsidered at any time before defendant's trial. So that no longer exists. In 2024, it just moved to subsection K, and then in 2025, if you look on Lexis, that language doesn't even appear anymore at all.
Okay. So what's your response to that, Ms.
Judge,
Doherty?
I specifically cited the statute that was in effect at the time when her pretrial detention hearing was heard. So
Okay.
I had to.
But the legislature has subsequently changed it, correct?
Judge, that is correct.
So
In the current statute, that subsection is still in existence. It's just moved to a different letter.
okay, well, let me take a look. I'll look it up right now. Just make sure we have the most current reading of the statute, and we'll see what it says. But at this point, we can go forward, and the defense can call witnesses. All right. So I'm going to deny the state's motion to strike the motion to reconsider pretrial detention. Okay. So who's going to be your first witness?
First witness is Detective Nita.
Okay.
He is on, it should be on Zoom.
All right. Let me look.
And Judge, just to go back, and I'm sorry to belabor the point, but the reason I brought the statute book is it specifically states when that new pretrial detention and release statute goes into effect, each subsection tells when that statute is effective and what the dates are that are encompassed. And the one that I cited to is the one that is in effect. And so the ones that are subsequent to that also say when they go into effect, and that is after the date and time frame.
Of when the original pretrial detention hearing was, or today?
When the original.
I understand, but assuming the language has changed, I'm assuming Mr. McLymont is going to say it's retroactive application. I'm assuming that's what you're going to tell me, right? Or that I can consider, and it's got to be done now pursuant to the current statute, correct?
Yes, that would be my argument.
Okay, so.
Okay, so as you can see, the state didn't want them to be able to, right, bring the witnesses and pursue this, but the judge allowed Alicia Andrews, counsel to continue. So they call the witness, and the witness is, I think, one of the detectives or one of the police officers that were on this case, okay? And we're not going to go through that because basically they went back and forth. They drug it. At one point, the judge was like, look, she told the witness that was on the stand, simply just answer the questions, don't add anything, because even the detective or the police officer that was on the stand was kind of elaborating. You know what I'm saying? He was giving elaborative answers, which was allowing the defense to continue to ask him the same questions and different questions and delve deeper into things that had nothing to do with proving that, you know, she should be granted bond. Okay, just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Okay, now we also have to remember that Foolio was well loved, okay, in the hip hop community, and a lot of people were mourning his unalivement. Now, the thing about this is that it happened in an area where there were a lot of cameras, you guys. This incident occurred outside of a Holiday Inn. This is where the pow powing was. Okay. Now, it not only took the life of Foolio, but 3 other people were injured, you guys. So just the lack of, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, the way that they did it and putting other people in danger is enough in itself. You know what I'm saying? They showed no regard for not only Foolio's life, but the people that they could have hurt, which they did. 3 other people were injured. All right. So that also goes into play as well. You know what I'm saying? Now, according to the press reports, the 26-year-old rapper had been celebrating his birthday. And you know how when you celebrating your birthday, you're online, you're on Instagram, people are going to be able to see your location. Okay. He was celebrating his birthday with his friends at a local Airbnb. And after police intervened to disperse, you know, the gathering, Foolio and his friends relocated. And that is when Foolio, I think, got on his social media platform and gave out his location of where he was going to go next. Now, the pow-powing happened outside, like I said, of a Holiday Inn, where 2 parked cars were targeted by a group of armed men. Foolio was in one of those vehicles when the gunmen opened fire. And I just showed you guys that video, okay? Now, this wasn't the first time that Foolio was attacked. His life had been at risk on multiple occasions, you guys. Now, in October of 2023, he survived an ambush in Jacksonville again, neighborhood, sustaining severe injuries to his foot. All right. So he was actually pow-powed in the foot. Also in November of 2021, he defended himself during another attack in Jacksonville again. Is this a dangerous area or what? What is going on in Jacksonville, Florida, y'all? Is that considered a hood? Is that considered the bad part of Florida? But yes, again in November of 2021, there was another attack using a registered weapon. Okay. Now, additionally, in 2020, Foolio was also involved in a pow-powing in Houston, Texas. And that just goes to show you that danger was following him. All right. And this is what happens when you mix and mingle, right? And you put yourself in that situation. Now, in 2020, like I said, it happened in Houston, Texas. Now, following the 2023 attack, he filed a lawsuit against a UF health nurse for allegedly compromising his safety by disclosing his location, which ultimately is what he did on his birthday, right? That's ultimately what he did, okay? Let me show you a little bit more of this, okay? Of this video. honestly, looking at this, could you even imagine yourself being on trial literally for your life at 22 years old, where your life hasn't even really started yet? And now you're looking at the end of your freedom. I mean, even for Foolio, rest in peace, a lot of people were saying out there in social media that he was a red rummer. He had a lot of controversial songs, a lot of controversial lyrics, and given the lifestyle that he lived and the content that he rapped about, it should be no surprise that this type of violence followed him, okay? Because sometimes you can bring it on yourself. Now, I'm not saying that he deserved this in any way, but let's just be clear, you guys, okay? He rapped about this stuff. And a lot of people were saying he was doing some of the same thing. And all I'm saying is live by the GUN, die by the GUN. Is this a perfect example of that or what? Right? And sometimes you can choose beef with the wrong people. And I just read to you guys how he was pow-powed at 4 different occasions. And it was the last one that took him out. Some people wouldn't even call this tragic. And I know that sounds cold, but people that are familiar with his songs and his rap and his lyrics, we know they're controversial. We know he was calling out people. We know that it was a dangerous game that all of them were playing. Right? So, I mean, you know, it's just unfortunate all the way around, but these are the games that people play. And when you play dangerous games, you win dangerous prizes.
Where to park? Would it be your expectation for them to get out of the vehicle at that point in time?
They actually waited a little bit before they got out, so they didn't get immediate out. It wasn't like immediately park and get out. They
That's a different question.
Yeah.
So the question I'm asking is the first time that the cruise arrives, and there's nowhere to park.
Sure.
Do you expect them at that time to get out of the vehicle?
I'd be speculating. I don't.
There's no reason for somebody to get out of the vehicle if the parking lot is full and there's nowhere to park.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. You're saying the first time, since there was nowhere to park, could they have possibly gotten out while the vehicle was in motion? No. But yes. So yeah, I agree.
So when they do find a parking spot, it's then that they get out of the vehicle.
According to the video of the camera, yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, very good. So may this witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Detective. You are free to go. Any additional witnesses, Mr. McClyman? Any additional witnesses?
No, Judge.
Oh, okay. Okay, state any witnesses.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm gonna, again, I don't know why Lexus and Westlaw have a different 907.041 version. I really don't. But in looking at it specifically for our purposes, the pertinent subsection is subsection 5, which deals with the pretrial detention statute. And when comparing the one that's on Westlaw that I'm looking at, the one that the state apparently has, and the one you gave me, Mr. McLymont, I would notice subsections G, K, L, M, and N are completely different in the two versions, and I can't explain it. I would note, Mr. McLymont, in the version you gave me, there is no authorization for a motion for reconsideration. It's not contained in here at all. There's no right to it. So I don't know that you would want me to use the Lexis version because there is no language authorizing a motion for reconsideration. So based upon everything in front of me, I'm going to go with what I have. And again, 907.041 pretrial detention and release subsection K states as follows. A party may motion for a pretrial detention order to be reconsidered at any time before a defendant's trial if the judge finds that information exists that was not known to the party moving for reconsideration at the time of the pretrial detention hearing, and that such information has a material bearing on determining whether there are conditions of release or bail that will reasonably assure the appearance of the defendant as required and the safety of any other person and the community from harm. And this is what Judge Sabella had to say at the pretrial detention hearing, the initial one. He didn't specifically reference 907.041, but he did articulate the language, particularly from, I think it's subsection 5D, and he stated as follows. This is a circumstantial case, but I believe that there is strong circumstantial evidence, at least under a principal theory and perhaps a conspiracy theory. I am finding that there is a substantial probability that all three defendants, and Ms. Andrews was one of the defendants at that pretrial detention hearing, that all three defendants committed the dangerous crimes that they are charged with. I find that the factual circumstances of these crimes indicate a disregard for the Tampa community. I further find that there are no conditions of release available that are sufficient to protect the community from further risk of physical harm. So I will grant the state's motion for pretrial detention as to each of the three defendants. So, Mr. McLymont, let's start with you. First of all, what is the information existing that was not known to the moving party at the time of the pretrial detention hearing? And how does it have a material bearing on the determination that was made by Judge Sabella?
Okay, so like I said previously, he failed to prove the burden. He had the burden of proof, and he didn't bring any new information that was previously not known at the time when Judge Sabella gave denied the bond. Okay. And this is where he tried to throw in the DV, which I let you guys know that during a red rum case that you cannot use that and it is irrelevant. Okay, so I'll save you guys a little bit of time. All right, let's just skip to the end because, yeah, that's what he does. He kind of goes around, the wording. He's like wordy. And I mean, I guess he's just doing his job. You know what I'm saying? What do we expect him to do? Just get up there and just, not try. So, basically we went through the motions and the judge said, no way, Jose. So let's get to that point so you guys can actually hear what the judge had to say.
New Total Eye Lift, powered by organic harangana, as effective as retinol. Clarence.
Is your mind secretly sabotaging your success? What if there was a way you could instantly stop self?
Evidence and nature of this case is. It has always been a circumstantial case, but it is overwhelming on the timing of this case and the phone evidence of the coordinated tracking of Charles Jones in Tampa by 2 vehicles, and the tracker vehicle, which always comes before the black Chevy Impala that housed 3 gunmen that were heavily armed, very sophisticated crime, brought here from Jacksonville to Tampa. And the tracking of these vehicles is done through license plate readers that lead from Jacksonville to Tampa, starting the day before, where they are traveling in tandem, where both the Chevy Cruze and the Black Impala both show up similarly through this route. So you have 2 vehicles traveling together. So it has always been the state's position, even at the pretrial detention very early on in this case, that she was never the shooter, that she was never in a gang, that the only connection that she has to the gang is through her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. So all of those facts were known. So the fact about ballistics, the facts about the parents testifying, all of that does not have any sort of bearing on why the facts that were presented at the pretrial detention hearing and why Judge Sabella made the decision that he did. He watched and saw all of those video surveillance and saw the timing of when one vehicle came, when the victim came, when the victim was seen, when the victim left, and then when those vehicles left. And he saw the coordination at each of those locations, as well as the cell phone information, which is her cell phone, by the way. And based on that and the type of crime that was committed, this was a crime where this victim was gunned down and was targeted, and where 3 heavily armed assailants that were prepared to take out this victim, 2 of which had assault rifles. The other one had a 9mm that was completely unloaded with 31 casings that were found left in Tampa, and a Tesla video, as well as the video surveillance at the hotel, which showed that the victim was targeted. And all of that is a dangerous crime that she participated in as a principal. We have never suggested that she had a gun in her hand at any time, but that she clearly was tracking the victim along with her boyfriend based on what was seen on that video. And so based on that, the judge found that this crime, the egregious nature of this crime, was a dangerous crime, and it was the way that it was instituted definitely indicated a disregard to the safety of the community. There was additional testimony that there were guests staying at that hotel, that bullets went into those guest rooms. There were 2 guests, in fact, where families had been staying.
I'm familiar with the facts, Ms. Doherty. We need to just stick to, listen, Mr. McClymonds raised 4 points that he said were not known. One is the ballistics. However, there was no ballistic evidence, I don't believe, that was presented. So that's nothing. Ballistics did not play a part in Judge Sabella's decision, because there was no ballistic testing done at that time, and there was no evidence introduced as to that. The information regarding Ms. Andrews being a victim of domestic violence, that is new. And then Robert Howard, what's your position on if that has any material bearing?
Judge, it doesn't. Robert Howard was an eyewitness and was with the victim, and he was not very cooperative or did not give a full statement initially. We have since taken a sworn statement, and yes, he has tried to say that 6 Block or ATK, they're not gangs, but he is a member, and he's actually in federal custody for a manslaughter, not in federal custody, but he has previously been sentenced to a manslaughter for another death as a result of this gang war. So whenever you ask one of these members if ATK is a gang or 6 Block is a gang, they will say no, that it is not a gang, but that is not what determines what a gang is in Florida or how it is documented per statute. So it doesn't have any material bearing on why the judge made the determination that there was a need to protect the community, and that holding her that there were no reasonable means to or no reasonable conditions released to adequately protect the community. It has
Now, before we get to the judge's ruling, I just wanted to speak on a point that she just said, that she considers Alicia Andrews a principal in this. Even though she didn't pow pow, even though there was no fingerprints, even though she didn't do the actions, right? She still was involved in this, and they see her as a principal. That means a main suspect, like a main contributor. Like you were involved, you were one of the main people involved in this. And this is just a wake-up call for all of us, right? Especially young people who choose this lifestyle. First of all, I wish that you wouldn't choose this lifestyle, but just know, okay? Just know, come sleet, come rain, come snow, if you are involved in any way possible, if you are the driver, if you are the lookout, if you are the scoper, if you're the one who's following and tracking down the victim, okay, you will be held equally accountable. And why do I say that? Because now I said there were 4 suspects, but there were 5 suspects, okay? Isaiah Chance, Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, Davion Murphy, and Rashad Murphy. And they were all arrested in connection with this pow-powing. Now, all 5 of them, although there was only 3 pow-powers, I think, all 5 of them have been charged with first-degree red rum and conspiracy to commit first-degree red rum, okay? Now, they all pleaded not guilty, but the prosecution announced that they intend on seeking the death penalty for 3 of these suspects, okay? It would be Chance, Sean, and Davion. But it's still going to be devastating for Alicia Andrews if she is found guilty and convicted, you guys, all right? If she is found, this is just a wake-up call, okay? This is just a wake-up call that you have to read the room. You have to vet the people that you are with. And if you get involved with someone who is on the other side of the law, your black ass is going to go down with them. Okay? Let's get to the judge's ruling. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me.
No relevance or bearing on that whatsoever. The domestic violence judge, obviously, we're not contesting that happened. Domestic violence should be prosecuted wherever and whenever it happens. She has never reported it. There was nothing ever that we could find to cooperate or not corroborate it until they listed witnesses. But again, under the state of Florida and the law, this is not a case where she is murdering or trying to defend herself against her attacker. Duress is not a consideration and does not excuse her participation in killing or murdering another individual, not anything having to do with her abuse. It just is not relevant.
Okay.
And was there any other fact?
No, that's fine. So, okay. So based upon the testimony and the governing statute as I interpret it, first of all, with regards to the parents, I know they testified that they could basically monitor and provide a home for Miss Andrews, but the situation remains, she has no ties to Tampa. And that was articulated at the pretrial detention hearing, and that remains a fact today. She may have someplace she can live in Jacksonville, but she doesn't have a place here in Tampa. With regards to, so their contention that they could monitor her around the clock in Jacksonville does not have material bearing to me as far as Judge Sabella's original decision. The testimony of Robert Howard and the lack of ballistics or fingerprint or DNA, as well as the domestic violence information, again, I find those do not have a material bearing, and therefore I'm going to deny the defendant's motion for reconsideration for release pursuant to 907.041, the pretrial detention statute. Now, if you would like to make your Arthur argument, please do.
Well, on the pretrial detention issue, so you mentioned that the fact that Alicia has family in Jacksonville does not, I guess, quell the court's concerns about Judge Sabella's order from the pretrial detention hearing.
Well, it's just, it's a one of a number of factors that don't. It's
You mentioned it, so I want to just.
I think when you're struggling as a single parent, shame just comes with it. So I think the moment that I realized that I was always enough.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Judge Sabella, in his order, did not say that he made any factual findings that Miss Andrews was a flight risk. What his order says is that I find that the factual circumstances of these crimes indicate a disregard for the Tampa community. So if she's at home in Jacksonville, then his factual findings of her being in Jacksonville would be fine. And then he further says, I further find that there are no conditions of release available that are sufficient to protect the community from risk of physical harm, not to prevent her from, or to keep her from coming back to court. And there's a distinction there, a clear distinction, because he could have made a factual finding that he says, or that he believes that there's no conditioning that could have her come back to court. And he didn't make that finding. And so when I discuss, or when we bring up the evidence about the parents being in Jacksonville, that doesn't negate anything that, or it doesn't harm Alicia Andrews in relation to what Judge Sabella issued during the ruling he issued during his pretrial detention.
Again, I find it does not have a material bearing on Judge Sabella's initial ruling. So do you want to make your argument for the record with regards to the Arthur factors?
Well, I made the argument with the Arthur factors, Judge.
Okay, so you rely upon the record for that. Okay, very good. Okay, so we are concluded, and Ms. Andrews will remain held in custody pursuant to the pretrial detention statute. And is there any reason we need to get together before jury selection you all can think of?
I mean, I might file a motion for like a more specific exhibit list.
Okay. Whatever you do, please just do it sooner as opposed to later. So if you need to get back before me, it's fine. I'm heading into a death penalty case starting September 24th. So my calendar is going to get very tight quickly. So if we.
Judge, I have that ready. So that's something that I may make some amendments to that, but I certainly can give him those things.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're concluded. Thank you.
Court adjourned.
Y'all, this is a damn shame, okay, that people are throwing their lives away like this over a bad decision. And I understand the youth factor, but is it making you feel gushy inside? Is the youth factor helping her? I mean, this young woman is shackled at the feet. Okay, probably never to see freedom in a long. Now, I'm not saying she's getting the death penalty because they're not going after that with her. It's only 3 suspects that are going to get the death penalty. But does that make it any better? Does that make it any better? At the end of the day, Alicia Andrews' bond was denied, okay, for the red rum of Foolio. Now, a judge ruled, as you guys heard, testimony about the alleged DB she experienced with her co-defendant boyfriend could not be used as part of her defense. The judge also pointed out the flight risk that Alicia Andrews might be because, yes, she has step-parents and parents that are in Jacksonville, but not in Tampa. All right, but among other things, right? And just because of the lack of ballistics has no bearing on this. All right. So you guys heard that. Now, like I said, let me go ahead and clarify the trial was delayed until October. And the jury selection for Alicia Andrews, which is what comes first, right? When her trial starts in October, the first thing they will do is jury selection for her trial. And that was scheduled for mid-August. we're past mid-August, but the lead prosecutor had a medical emergency. So now that is going to start in October, you guys. All right. And that's all I have for you. Okay. And like I said, maybe the DV may count in other states. I don't know. I'm speaking specifically on Florida law. Okay. The judge cited Florida law, okay, which does not recognize duress as a defense for premeditated red rum. Okay. This was all planned, it was all premeditated. It wasn't self defense. They thought this out, they were calculated about it, not too smart, to do this around all these cameras. But then again, why are you not thinking? If y'all are such gangsters, if y'all are such G's, if y'all got this all together, and this just shows you it's just a bunch of motherfuckers just running around, just pow-powing each other. No rhyme, no reason. Because if you guys would have thought about it, this happened across from a Holiday Inn. Like, are you serious? But anyways, you guys let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. And like I said, the other ones that are charged for the first degree, their cases will come later. Okay. But according to now, let me just go through the roles that everybody had. Okay. Because I did say before that there were only 4 defendants. There were 5 defendants arrested. Okay, 5 individuals that were arrested for this red rum. Now, let's go through. Isaiah Chance was charged with first-degree red rum, conspiracy, and evidence tampering, and the state seeks the unalive penalty for him. Okay, the death penalty. Now, Alicia Andrews, who we're speaking of now, was charged with first-degree red rum as well, and conspiracy, and the state is not seeking the death penalty with her. Now, Sean Gaffright, charged with first-degree red rum, conspiracy, attempted red rum, and evidence tampering. They are seeking the death penalty on him. And Rashad Murphy was charged with first-degree red rum, conspiracy, and attempted red rum, and the state is seeking the death penalty on him. Okay. Now we also have Davion Murphy, who was charged with first-degree red rum and attempted red rum. All right. Now, according to the prosecutors, Chance and Andrews tracked Foolio to multiple locations, while Gaffright and the 2 Murphys were the pow-powers. All right, so the people that were the pow-powers are going to most likely get the death penalty if it is proven. Okay, right now everything is alleged, and they have all pleaded not guilty. So we have to let the wheels of justice turn. Okay. Now, in May of 2025, I just wanted to mention that Isaiah Chance, one of the suspects, posted on social media proclaiming his innocence and alleging that the police arrested the wrong people. All right. That is all I have for you guys. You guys let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. It's sad all around. But you know what? This is what you get when you play around with some right? Vanessa, welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for your input. What did you say? The beautiful young lady has ruined her life. She could have had it all. I don't understand how these young people do this. Thank you for covering this case. You are welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for stopping in. Yeah, you guys, you got to think twice. And this little, I'm young, I'm dumb, I'm young, it's not working anymore. Okay. I just saw an 18-year-old get arrested for grand theft. Okay, she was in a Walmart. She stole almost $1,300 worth of stuff. I don't know how you do that, but girl, what was you doing? You trying to start your own store? But she just had turned 18 years old. Okay, not even like a week or maybe a couple weeks she had turned 18. She initially told the police she was 17, but 2 weeks, girl, you turned 18. You know what they did? They stood her up. First of all, they already told her when she was lying and said she was 17, which used to work. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work in some cases, but y'all, it's losing its power. Okay, it's losing its allure. All right. He was like, you gotta identify yourself. We don't care how old you are, and you ain't calling your dad. That's what the police officer told her. Come to find out, her birthday was just 2 weeks. She was just 2 weeks shy of turning 18. Once the Walmart employee came in with the receipt on how much she had stolen, which was almost over 1,000, which was grand theft, they stood her up and put those handcuffs on her so quick. They were like, technically, you're an adult and you can call your father when you get to the station. So, you know, I'm just throwing that in there. That's just an example of y'all don't lean on that. I'm young and dumb. It's not working anymore. You want to know why? Because it's a lot of young people that are doing the most. Okay? For y'all to track this man down under your own law because it's your gang, like, what? What gives y'all the right? And if you guys heard the testimony of, or you heard the prosecution speaking, she said that there were guests at the Holiday Inn and some bullets went through some walls, y'all. Just imagine if that was you. Imagine if that was you and your newborn, you and your child, you and your boyfriend, you and your husband. How would you feel then? With just an inch to the left or an inch to the right, that bullet could have took out you or one of your loved ones. How would you have felt then? How relevant and stupid would this have been? This whole plot, this whole setup. It's dumb. It's stupid. What is wrong with y'all? Times have changed. And yes, we can go back, oh, when I was young and yeah, play me a fucking violin. It's irrelevant. We're not living in those times anymore. We haven't lived in those times in a long time. And I might even say as recent as 2020, because if 2020, and you know what time that was, if that ain't taught y'all nothing, I don't know what will. This is a whole new ball game. This is a whole new world, you guys. When it comes to the law and all of this, with that RICO in effect, you can forget it. Okay? You guys let me know what you guys think about this whole situation of her pretrial bond being denied. And I'm pretty sure as the cases come up, each one of the defendants will also try to get bond, y'all. All right. You said, oh God, that young, yeah, oh God, that young, it breaks my heart. Yeah, it does. You guys let me know what you guys think. This is all I have. I will be back with another video. You guys make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, we'll be back for another video, you guys. I'll see you guys later. Until next time, America.
Ain't no stopping, now bitch talking and we dropping tonight. Hey, what's up guys? This is Lisa Blonay, aka the Hood Mona Lisa, and I am back with another video. This is some hot tea, y'all. Party rockin', lips lockin', goofy jockin' tonight. I got ounces, pocket rocket, pullin' pop it tonight. Ain't no stopping, now bitch talking and we dropping tonight. Goddamn, man, they motherfucking shot him tonight. Party rockin', lips lockin', goofy jockin' tonight. I got ounces, pocket rocket, pullin' pop it tonight.